Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Visio. In this module, I want to show you how you can quickly create a flowchart and customize the shapes. So I'm on the new home screen and I have here a basic flowchart template. Now this might not be there on yours if you've not used one recently, so you might need to go new and then pick it up from here or down at the bottom under categories or office. But I've got it here, so I'm just going to click on it and then I get the option to create several template different versions, but I'm going for a blank one and then create. And that will give me several stencils, as they're called, down the left hand side with shapes. And I've already got some different windows open on the right here, which I'll close down and open them up later on. So there's my page. And here are the different default stencil shapes. This is basic flowchart shapes. You've got quick shapes and cross-functional shapes there as well. I'm going to stick on this one. Now, when you bring a shape on, any shape this is, even if it's just a basic shape and it's not a template one, if I just bring on this process, all shapes have what's called shape data attached to them. If I click on view and activate the shape data window, shape data, you can see that the shape data for this particular shape is listed there. These are the default options. Now you can change these. You can see you've got some different options there about completed, not completed, etc., end date, start date, etc., etc. If you right click on this shape, any shape, you can go into data and then define shape data, where that will allow you to delete some of these if you don't want them, or create a new one if you wanted a different one, and then that would come in there. Now, depending on which version of Visio you've got, you can actually give this a sort order. So if you wanted to change the order there, say you wanted process, well, let's go for that one. Say you want that to be number one, you could go there and put a 1 in that, and then you might want function to be number 2, and so on and so on. And then when you finish this, it will reorder those. If I click OK to that, it's reordered those in whatever number sequence you give it, including extra ones that you add. So this shape data, when you fill it in, is stored in the shape, and you can export that into Excel if you so wish. It's like a little database. Now, if you do go through the process where you add extra things, I will do that actually. Let me just right click on this again and go back into it and just add a different item. So if I just go new, I'll just call this salary. It's not really relevant, but you'll get the idea. Salary. And then that would be set to currency. I'll just leave it at that for now. Clicking OK. It comes up at the bottom there, which is great. I can just put a figure in there and it sets that as pounds. I'll delete that off because I don't want any information in here. The problem with that is if I then bring another process on, it doesn't pick up that salary because I just did it on that one. So what you have to do is you create yourself a little stencil, which I'll do now. So up the top there, you've got more shapes. Over down the bottom here, you've got new stencil metric. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this one, which has got salary in, and I'm going to rename it as process. You know, you can't use the same word as, call it process one. You can't use the same name as what it's already called because that confuses everything. I'll just save that stencil as flow charts. I'll just delete this one. Now, when I bring that one across from my stencil, it's already got the salary field there, or any of the fields that I want to edit. So that's what I would recommend that you do. And if you're going to add any other features, for example, if you go to data and data graphics, you might want to add that as well. Before you pull it into your stencil, you would add the data graphics. So I'll go on that one. I'll go new data graphic and then new item, and then I will pick the fields. So I've got salary is what I created. There it is. And then you've got different options here: text, data bar icon, so on and so on. I'll go for text because that's all it is really. Then you can change some of the default things. So label position, left of value, I tend not to have that on because it just clutters things up. So not shown. You can change all that. All the defaults I'm going to leave. Just click OK and then OK. Yes. So then it sits there. Now what I should do is pull this one into there. I'll call this process 2. Process 2. Now, when I bring that one on, every single time that's going to have the data graphic on as well. So if I put a figure in the salary box, it will display it on the graphic there. So that's what I would do personally, and then you save your stencil. If I'm going to customize shapes, otherwise it just takes you absolutely ages, one at a time, customizing things, whereas this way you've got multiple shapes already sorted out for you. Now if I just delete these off and go back to the default options, how to create a flowchart is quite simple. You usually have a start and end. You bring that on. Now when you bring the shape on, again, depending on what version of Visio you've got, you get these little pointers all around it, above, left, right, and below, with some of the basic shapes on. So basically, that one is a process. I'll click on that, and a process comes out of the bottom. And then if I get myself a little decision one, which is that one, then you would have to come out of this side. So you might have a process coming out of this side, and then you carry on down. You go process, another decision, and then coming out of the side, process, and then you might have a process and then an end. And I'm running out of space on here, so it's going to go into a second page, like so. Now, if I just Control A everything and just grab the whole lot and just move it up a little bit, so it sits on one page just for this demonstration. Now, that is just very quick how you can create a simple flowchart. Obviously, you've got the ability to type in there. So if I call this induction, you see, as soon as I start typing, it will zoom in for me and I can see what I'm typing. So that's you type in there. Now these boxes here, you can't have things just hanging like this. So you would naturally want that to come back down. So if this was a pass fail, you would have, maybe if it's a pass, I'll call it status, this question, so you can see how this works. Status, and then I'll double click on the line because that's going to be fail. Have to go back to the beginning, and then that would be pass, so carry on. Pass, carry on. So you're going back to this one, and I'll just call that review. And then you now want a line to come out of this to go back to this first box, which I haven't named yet, and I'll just call this stage 1. I'm just making this up, so don't read anything into this. So to create a line to come back, I've got to do that from the Home tab at the top there, picking up on the connector tool, sit my mouse near the shape, want it to come out of there, and just follow it back and click it onto that shape, like so. Make sure you take that off, otherwise you'll be doing lines everywhere. Now on this one, you're going to do the same. If I double click on that, so that's going to be a fail as well. If you fail, you get reviewed. If you pass, you carry on. So this is a review. Now where this goes back to is up to you, but I'm going to get it to go back to this box. So again, connect it on, go back to there. So you're just going round in a circle. Now I've dropped that a bit short, it hasn't snapped on. Now it has. Make sure you take that off. So we're back to this one, and we can carry on with the next process. Now if your flowchart goes on to a second sheet, or second page should I say, you've got these options here, off-page references. You just pull these on. These are just like hyperlinks. And if you've already got other pages created, this will list those pages, but we haven't, so it's just coming up with new page, page 2, and you can leave it as page 2 or you can name it there. I'm just going to click OK, and then it's gone on to a second page, and then you can carry on with the process. You might want to go to your stencil, for example, And well, I'll go and get a start point first because I haven't got that on mine. So I'll get a start. So this is might be a related, or it could be a completely different thing. Then I'm going to my flowchart. Now, if I go onto this, I get those arrows, but I don't want, it isn't going to give me this customized process. So what you can do on this one is click on the connector tool, so it's active, that box is active, and then drag your process on, and it will achieve the same thing, look. You get your line. Now, obviously, I need to line that up a little bit. I'll use my arrow keys. Now, that's going to be a faff on. So let me just put the pointer tool on, and let's see how I can get this sorted out. Now, if it's going to take me ages to sort this out because it's playing up, in fact, I'll just leave it like that, because you don't really want it to be staggered like that. Now, that's given me another shape of that type, which is great. It's sort of now showing me these two. So the top one, when I clicked on the top one, when I first did it, let me just pull another one on. Go back onto that one. Process. When I sit on that one, look, it shows me the default ones. But as soon as I've brought one of mine on, which is great, it's now only showing me the two options that I've got in my stencil. Those two. So if you want to do this properly, you would probably populate that with as many of these shape types that you want. So you've got them all available with all the, remember, shape data. We've added that extra field, and we've got the data graphic on as well. And that's how you can do that. If you want to change the color scheme of this, if you go to design, you've got lots of different design styles, like that one or a darker one, like so. If I go back onto page one, pick the same design, like so, you've got that design. That's quite nice. If you want to have a background page or a logo page, you've got backgrounds over here and titles. So if I go for backgrounds first, I always pick the world because it stands out a bit more. That just sits in the background. It becomes a page in itself. So that's a page. And then page two isn't looking at that. It's just page one. So what you have to do with page two is basically right click on the page at the bottom, go into page setup and tell it to look at the background page that is listed there, which is the default one, which is the globe. OK to that, and then it sucks it through like the rest of them. Now, if I'd have done that background page first before I did page two, that would have automatically picked that up. Now, titles, this option, borders and titles, again, it's going to sit as in the background, but you've got to be careful here with this because this is quite tight at the top. If I click on one of these, let's see what that one does. You see it's already gone over this. It's on the background page. So we've got it there. So this is where you need to edit it. So I'll just call this thing induction. Like that. It's got today's date on, which is okay. I'll come back onto page two. Page two hasn't got that on. So I'll need to go onto page setup and pick the one I want, which is that one, which has got both the globe and the titles. Like so, and again, this one's sitting slightly wrong. So if I do Control A, now that's grabbed all the shapes. I can pull it down a little bit, which is all right. And then I go onto page one, and I do Control A. It grabs all the shapes. Now that's going to go into two pages. So I've got a bit more of a faff on here to get this to fit, like so. Click off that. So if I double click on this hyperlink, it goes onto that one. And if I double click on that, it goes back again. Now you can see what I've done there accidentally. I've gone onto two pages with this. So I'll just grab that again, Control A, bring it back up into, undo that one, Control Z, bring this all back up into that top area, like so. And then back to page one. Make the screen a bit smaller. It's dropping onto the second page. If you want to make this a bit smaller, you can just move some of these up, but it's a bit more of a time-consuming effort because obviously you'd have to move them all up. You can grab a few at a time and drag them. But that's basically how you create a flowchart, customizing the shape data, adding data graphics, creating your own stencil, using those shapes, putting a background on, putting borders on, and then making sure everything pulls all the information through as you see fit. So hopefully that is of use. Thank you for your time. I'll catch you in the next one.